Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Ask Kaveti. I hope you guys enjoyed last week's episode because I surely did, where we talked about the Ukrainian students. So today's episode, we're still going to stick with the students, but we're shifting focus to Indian students and what are their rights and liabilities when they come to the US with fake degrees pursuing masters. So I would like to welcome Mr. Srinivas Rao Kaveti once more to our show. Hello, Mr. Kaveti. How are you doing today?
Hi, welcome back to Ask Kaveti episodes. Welcome back again in Mana TV International. Thanks for tuning yourself to Mana TV International. We're going to talk about the Indian students, those who are coming to America with fake degrees to pursue their masters, and those who are coming to America to even get an H-1B with those fake certifications. Lately, there's a big scam going on in India that students from India, they've been coming to American universities to pursue their master's degree in computer science by using fake bachelor's degrees in India. There have been a lot of calls to our firm that people are coming to America and the universities in America are being notified by the Indian police authorities that students who came to America with fake degrees, the universities in America are terminating their student status, and they are possibly reporting to the immigration police or to the local police. So we're going to discuss about rights and liabilities of Indian students in the United States, and in this episode we're going to touch base as what is going to happen to their student status and what is going to happen to their admission in the colleges and the universities. Will they be able to transfer or go to another school? Can they change their visa status? And what would happen if they get arrested in America? And once if they get arrested in America, if they're deported back to India, what would happen to them in Indian scenario? Will they get arrested in India too? And what sort of punishments they would have either in America or in India? Will they be able to come back? All of that we're going to talk in this episode.
So I would like to start by asking you the most basic question. What would happen to their student visa in the US?
When the students when the schools, when they discover, when they identify that the education certificates they used to get admissions in US institutions, when the colleges or universities, when they discover that the undergrad degrees or the degrees from overseas are fake, which are fraudulent, what's going to happen is they're getting terminated from the service. Service is a software which is maintained by the USCIS for the international students. First of all, the school will notify the student. They will terminate their record in the school. They will suspend them and they will terminate them. They will debar them. First is they will lose their student status, and the service will also terminate their status. What does it mean? That means the students who came to America on a student visa, they will become illegal basically. Why? Because they have breached the immigration law. One must understand that by using a fake certifications, when you're getting an admissions in the US institutions, you're committing two crimes. One, you're using misrepresenting to the US schools, institutions, saying that you completed your undergrad degree, and two, you're also misleading and misrepresenting to the US government, US consulates back home, saying that you have an undergrad degree and you're going to America for pursuing a master's degree. That means you're committing an offense as against the US education institution, and the second offense you're committing is as against the US government, which is a sovereign. That means you're misrepresenting to the US consulate. That is a very serious offense. This is also called felony. When you're making an oath, because when you're making an application to the US embassy, that means you're indicating that you have education, you completed your education, you're coming to pursue master's degree. That means you're misrepresenting to the US government that means you're lying on oath. That's a serious offense. Anytime when you lie to a government agencies, that is a felony. That itself is a ground for that's an immigration violation. That itself is a ground for your visa cancellation. So there are two things. One is the school suspends you. The two, the US government could penalize you. They could even start a criminal prosecution as against you for the student. So it is a very serious matter. Students have to take this very seriously, that it's not just you're getting suspended or terminated from the school, or SEVIS is terminating you. The government agencies, even the FBI or ICE, Immigration and Custom Enforcement, or the local police can even go after you for prosecuting you.
And what would happen to their immigration status?
Your student visa gets terminated. That means you will become out of status, and that is also called you become undocumented alien. That means you're running the risk of living in America unlawfully. If you get arrested, the immigration can arrest you and put you in immigration detention center, and the immigration authorities can initiate removal proceedings. That means deportation proceedings. They could remove you forcefully from this country. Before that, you could even end up in jail for some time for committing serious crimes as against the US education institutions and as against the US government. So it's a pretty serious crime.
Okay, so what will happen to them in the USA's universities when they do come here?
In the US universities, the schools will notify the other schools as well. If you're trying to change from one school, if the school terminates your status, or if they've given you a notice saying that, hey, we found that your education from back home, from India or from overseas, it's a fake degree, they could even notify to other schools if you're trying to transfer to another school. So it's a pretty serious business that schools will not be happy that you misrepresented, you used some fake documentation to obtain admissions in US education institutions.
Can they change their student status to any other visa status?
You could change your student status to any other status, however, before your termination of your student status. Normally, when you make an application to the immigration authorities for changing of your status from student status to a work status, or if you intend to get married, or if you're applying for some other status, if you have a family here, the immigration is going to look at your background, that under what visa you came, and they will check your whereabouts. They will check it from the education institution where you come from, and if they find out that you have committed a crime, a felony, that you came unlawfully into this country, that itself will be a ground that there's a possibility that immigration might not approve your change of status or even adjustment of status. So you're running a risk of a serious immigration crime or immigration violation.
Will these students be arrested in USA if they are coming in with these fake degrees?
There's a definitely possibility that they could be arrested by the federal government, by the feds. It could be an FBI or it could be an ICE, which is Immigration and Custom Enforcement. And if the US education institutions, if they report to the local police, which is for the city police or a state police, they could be arrested. Yes, it's a serious offense, and they could be arrested. Yes.
And what would happen if they were to get deported again back to India?
Before the students get deported to India, because you perpetrated a crime as against the US government, as against US education institutions, first they will try you in America. They could try you in the state courts or the city courts, or they could try you in the federal courts. And once they try you, that means you will end up in jail for a few years in America. After incarceration, after being punished in America, then they will deport you back to India. They will deport you, or they could even extradite you because you're committing a crime as well as in India too, by fabricating documents in India too, or any other parts of the world.
Will they be arrested in India for making these fake degrees?
They could be definitely arrested by doing fake degrees in India, because it's also a very serious crime. because you're using a university emblem, and because you did not go to school, but you're you're using some people to get some fake degrees. Yes, that's a very serious offense in India too. You could be arrested in India, you could be punished in India too. It's a serious offense in India too. Yes.
Can they go to any other country after they've been deported to India? And what is the punishment in the USA or in India?
When you're deported back to India, deportation is an international crime. That means you have committed a crime in another foreign country. Once you committed a crime in a foreign country, the private and public international law says that because you've perpetrated a fraud on a country means a sovereign, which means a government. When you perpetrated a fraud on a government, once you're deported back to your own home country, that means you will lose the privilege of traveling overseas. What will happen if you're deported back to India? You can never get another passport. The Indian government will not give you a passport to travel, because international travel is not a right, it's a privilege you have. Those privileges get suspended, and you will not be able to go to any other country. Once the passport has been, the Indian government will confiscate your passport, because passport is a government document, and the government of India owns that. That is the property of the government of India, or for that matter, the passport is the property of different governments. So you will lose the privilege of getting another passport. You will not be able to travel to any other country, either for education or for work, or even if you get married, you will not be able to get a green card or travel to any other part of the world. Even if you have any family members in overseas, even if they sponsor you, you will not be able to go abroad. Why? Because under the public international law, the countries have, under the United Nations, they have certain conventions that if your national is committing if your citizen is committing a crime as against a foreign government, the governments do respect the international laws, and you will not be able to go. You will be barred from traveling internationally. You could travel within the country, but you might not be able to travel internationally. So it's a very serious thing.
Can they ever come back to America once they get deported?
Once you're deported to India from any part of the world, the American government will look you as an offender. That means you have committed a crime. And in the scenario that you have committed a crime as against the U.S. government and as against the U.S. education institutions, so you will be never allowed to come back to America. And if somebody wants to do that, then they have to apply for a waiver. Getting a waiver is very tough. You have to show a lot of factors that you have ties to America, and if some American citizen will have a hardship if you're not allowed back to America. It's basically, you're asking for a waiver means you're asking for a Kshama Bhiksha. It's not that easy that the governments do apologize you or forgive you to come back to the United States of America. So you're running a risk of that too. It's not that easy.
And my last question for you is, what are their rights if they get arrested in America by the immigration police or local police?
In America, the beauty of America is, under the US Constitution, you have Miranda rights. What does that mean? Miranda right means once you get arrested, you have a right to have an attorney. That means if any police stops you or detains you, you have a right to hire a lawyer. So if you say that I would like to exercise my Miranda rights, then you can have a lawyer, and you can have a right to have a lawyer. You can be represented by a competent lawyer. So anywhere, if you get arrested by the state police or by the federal police in US, you have a right to have a lawyer. So that's one right you have, and you have a right to be defended by a competent lawyer. And in some cases, the government also provides free legal aid lawyers. But if you're an international student, you're paying private school fees, so you might not be entitled to get a private lawyer, government lawyer, which is a legal aid lawyer. So you have to hire a private lawyer. That's one right you have. Number two, under the US Constitution, this is called a procedural due process or a substantial due process. What does it mean? When the government, when the American government or when the local government or the state government is trying to prosecute you, they have to give you a notice and they have to do a hearing. which is called notice and hearing. Under the due process of law, you will be given an opportunity to be heard before the judge. They will give you a notice and a hearing, so you will be given an opportunity by the US Constitution to be represented by a competent lawyer. So these are the rights you have. So guys, you don't have to get stressed out, and there are lawyers all over the country. 50 states, you have 50 different lawyers. You can hire lawyers locally. If you get arrested by an immigration agent or by the ICE, you can hire lawyers to practice immigration law. If the local police arrest you under the local law, you can hire local lawyers to practice the local criminal law. So there are lawyers all over the country, and there are some websites you can go and check it out. Hire some competent lawyers who practice criminal law, and you could be represented by criminal lawyers, so that you'll have a fair hearing.
So viewers, I hope you had an interesting time today with us, hearing all this information that Mr. Kaveti shared with us today. And I would like to ask Mr. Kaveti again if they have something important to share with us, and any advice or anything else they would like to share with our viewers.
Guys, students who are approaching foreign universities from India or any part of the world, this message for the students: don't risk your lives by using fake degrees, because you could be penalized, you could be punished both in America or in India, your foreign country. You don't want to do some silly mistakes by using fake degrees, and by because there are so many immigration agents, education consulting companies, especially in India. They don't care when you take fake degrees. They will apply and get you an I-20s. So better be careful. Don't fabricate such fake degrees, and try to approach US embassies or any foreign embassies or foreign education institutions. Just by doing this, it's going to jeopardize your life, and it's going to jeopardize your rights of getting education, getting employment, and migrating to other countries. So this message, we are not trying to scare off any international students, but I'm just sharing my wisdom with students and to their parents. Whoever is watching this show, please be careful. And we are only just sharing the laws. Please approach competent lawyers if you get in trouble with law, and don't take this as a legal advice. Approach some competent lawyers. We're not trying to solicit business. And if you have any questions, please get in touch with us. And this video is only for just information purposes, and we're not trying to scare anybody. This is only for information and education purposes. And please don't treat this as an attorney-client. And with my wisdom of law, I'm just sharing my wisdom, because a lot of people are calling our firm these days, and we're getting calls from India, we're getting calls from students from all over America. And there are so many schools they're investigating, and the government of America is investigating, and even the Indian police is investigating. They're registering cases, first information reports, and they're trying to do lookout notices in India. They're trying to give the cases to special investigative agencies in India. So the Indian police might get in touch with American police, or even the American education institution, for that matter, even to any of the foreign countries. So guys, better be careful, and be responsible. Don't play up with laws, and don't fake degrees, and don't rescue to shortcuts, and it will be very risky. So beware of this, and try to share this information to your friends and family, and don't get anxious. And this is only for information purposes. And we're going to come up with more videos in Ask Kaveti, and see you in the next episode. Thanks very much.
So viewers, I hope you got some useful information today from Mr. Kaveti. I surely enjoyed this conversation a lot. And as a student, I would like to tell other students that please don't forge your degrees just to come into another country. It's not a good idea to play with your future like that, and you have to think about what lies ahead for you and your future. So if you do need help, please watch our episodes and keep up with us as we share more information with you, and I hope to see you next week.